My boss's girlfriend was always jealous of me and fired me while he was away, but that stupid action lifted me to the peak of success while her life collapsed. I arrived punctually at the office at 10 o'clock in the morning. A nervous colleague pointed to the boss's office and said, "Tiffany is here. She wants to see you." Tiffany Fox was the boss's new girlfriend, notorious for her arrogance and bad temper. I set my coffee aside and pushed the door to enter the office. As soon as I stepped inside, a folder flew straight at my face. "Do you know what time it is? Company policy says work starts at 8 o'clock. Why are you arriving at 10 o'clock? The sharp edge of the folder left a bleeding cut on my forehead. I put my hand to the wound, looking at Tiffany, who was playing the boss behind the desk. My 10 o'clock start time was a special benefit for being the best salesperson. Everyone in the company knew that unwritten rule. Years ago, when the boss's company was on the brink of bankruptcy, they hired me by accident. My first month I generated $5 million in sales, rescuing the company from the abyss. Since then, the boss treated me as a valuable asset, always considering my opinions in important decisions. Tiffany hit the table, her face distorted with rage. "Look at your attendance card. You've been arriving at 10 o'clock for a whole month. Do you really think you're above company rules? According to internal policy, if you're late 3 days in a row, you can be fired, so you can leave now." I looked at her in disbelief. "Are you firing me? Did you consult with the boss? I generated 80% of the company's profits and she had the nerve to fire me." Tiffany snorted with disdain, looking at me with contempt. "You're just a salesman and nobody. What's wrong with me firing you? This is my boyfriend's company. I'm the boss's girlfriend. I fire whoever I want. The boss always treated me with respect, so I couldn't just leave like that." I sat on the sofa. "You should ask the boss first." Tiffany rolled her eyes. "And who do you think you are to tell me that?" She called the boss directly. On the other end of the line, his voice sounded tired. "What's going on?" Tiffany, who a moment before had been yelling at me, immediately changed her tone and said sweetly, "Honey, I miss you." The boss sighed. "Just tell me what's going on." "Nothing," said Tiffany, looking at me with a triumphant smile. "There's a salesman who doesn't follow the rules. He's always late. I want to fire him. Do whatever you want. I need to rest," he replied and hung up. Tiffany looked at me arrogantly. "Did you hear that? I can fire whoever I want. Now get out." I let out a sarcastic laugh, staring at her. "Are you sure? If the boss comes back and discovers you fired me, he might not like it at all," I warned her calmly. After all, headhunters had been trying to recruit me for years with huge offers. But out of loyalty to the boss, I always stayed. Leaving wouldn't affect me at all, but Tiffany wouldn't be so lucky. I turned around and left the office. Outside, my colleagues had heard the argument, although they didn't know what had happened. Everyone was looking at me. "Boss, what happened?" I started packing my things efficiently, smiling. "What happened?" "I got fired. That's what happened." My colleague's eyes opened wide. "She fired you? Tiffany is crazy. We all know you're the golden goose. Isn't she afraid the boss will break up with her?" I shook my head and let out a little laugh. "Well, that's not my problem anymore. In the end, it was her decision. She'll have to face the consequences." My colleague was furious. "But why did she fire you? Did you do something to her?" I frowned, thinking for a moment. I guess it was because last time when she started spreading gossip about Zoe, I defended Zoe. Remember? Since then, she's been on my case, looking for any excuse to bother me. Yesterday, Tiffany uploaded a photo of herself to the company's WhatsApp group, and everyone started flattering her. I was the only one who saw it without commenting anything. I guess that was the last straw. I finished packing and went to the finance department to collect my month's salary. I had only worked 10 days, but my salary and commission totaled $100,000. I informed the finance girl that I had been fired and asked her to transfer the money to my account. Shortly after, Tiffany unexpectedly appeared at the company entrance with a sour face. "Jack Wilson, didn't I tell you to get out? What are you doing here?" I looked at her calmly. She was all proud, believing she had landed a great boyfriend. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Tiffany became even more agitated. She approached me and grabbed my clothes. "Are you deaf? What are you doing in the finance department? These are important company documents. Get out right now or I'll call the police." I frowned and firmly removed her hand. "Let go of me." Since I was fired, don't I have the right to collect my month's salary? And I'm still being nice by not asking for severance pay. Tiffany looked with a sour face at the young woman in front of me. "How much is his salary?" she asked. The finance girl answered, $100,000 and $500. Tiffany's face changed immediately. "How much?" When the girl repeated it, Tiffany pointed at me and said, "You violated company rules, so your salary for this month is confiscated." I let out a cold laugh. "A $200 discount for each time I was late. Is that how you do the math? Did you even finish elementary school?" To my surprise, Tiffany answered very confidently, "It's a new rule I just made. 3 late arrivals and you lose the entire month's salary. Now get out." "By what right do you make rules?" Tiffany crossed her arms with her mouth open like a shark and responded, "If I'm going to have a part of this company in the future, what's wrong with me making rules?" I didn't feel like arguing anymore. "Then prepare yourself because you're going to get sued." And with that, I turned around and left. I drove home. As soon as I finished putting away my things, I saw a message in the company's Snapchat group that I hadn't left yet. It was from Tiffany. From now on, everyone must respond to any message I post on Snapchat or WhatsApp. Whoever doesn't answer will be fired. Sir, like that guy today. It seems she really fired me for not having praised her. The boss sure got lucky with this girlfriend. Everyone started responding in the group. It seemed ridiculous to me, and I immediately left all the groups. My phone became much quieter. However, since Tiffany wouldn't pay me my last month's salary, I decided to teach her a lesson. All the important clients were saved in my contacts, so I sent them a mass message informing them that I had resigned and would no longer be in charge of their accounts. Most were clients that I had personally acquired, and they only worked with the company because of me. If I left, it was very likely that they would leave too, and yes, just as I imagined, in less than 2 minutes, they were already writing to me to find out which company I had gone to, and that they were willing to change their contracts. I explained the situation to each one, telling them that I hadn't found a new job yet, but that I would contact them as soon as I had something. There were so many contacts that I continued responding to messages until it got dark, and exhausted, I fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, a colleague had sent me a message. Boss, several business partners say they want to end their cooperation and won't renew contracts. Did you have anything to do with it? Apparently the plan was working. I laughed quietly. I didn't do anything. I just told them I don't work there anymore. You're still the best boss. When Tiffany arrived that morning and found out what was happening, she exploded at several salespeople, demanding to know why they couldn't retain the clients. Now several are thinking of quitting. They say they won't tolerate this mess anymore. It seems like many people in the company were already tired of Tiffany. I wondered how she would handle the consequences. For my part, I was preparing to contact a lawyer and file a formal lawsuit to recover my salary. After all, it wasn't that I needed the money, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Unexpectedly, a few days later, Tiffany called me. It surprised me, and I answered with doubt. What's going on? As soon as I answered, a barrage of screams came at me from the other end of the line. Jack Wilson, do you have any idea what you're doing? Tell me where the company's client contacts are. They say you have them all. Give me those numbers now. That's company property. Don't think I won't sue you. I was shocked for a moment and then realized that Tiffany must be desperate. How can she be so unpleasant? Give me those client contacts now or I swear I'm going to destroy you. Did you hear me? I stared at the phone for a few seconds after hearing her screams. This woman was completely crazy. Tiffany, I don't know what you're talking about, I said with all the calm I could fake. I don't have company contacts. Those clients are my personal contacts. I got them, not the company. Lie! She screamed so loudly that I had to move the phone away from my ear. They are company property. Give me those numbers right now. I don't have to give you anything, I replied, feeling my blood boil. You fired me, remember? And on top of that, you refused to pay me my salary, so no, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm going to sue you for theft, she threatened. I burst out laughing. Theft of what? Of my own contacts? Go ahead, try it, and while we're at it, I'm also going to sue you for my unpaid salary and for physical assault. I have a wound on my forehead, remember? And many witnesses. She was silent for a moment. I could almost feel her brain spinning around, looking for a way out. This won't end here, Wilson, she finally said with a calmer voice but full of venom. If you don't give me those contacts, I'm going to make sure no one in this industry ever hires you again. You know what? I'm already bored with this conversation, I told her and hung up immediately. She called me again and again and again. I decided to block her number. I didn't have time for her nonsense. I had to prepare for the meeting with my lawyer. That afternoon, I met with Barbara, a labor lawyer recommended by a friend. I told her the whole situation, and she took notes while I spoke. This is a pretty clear case, she said when I finished my story. Not only were you fired without just cause, but there's documented physical assault. Do you have photos of the wound on your forehead? I nodded and showed her the photos I had taken as soon as I left the office that day. Perfect. And regarding your contacts, they're legally yours. There's no basis for her to sue you for that. However, my advice is that you don't use those contacts to actively sabotage the company. Respond if they contact you, but don't reach out to them first. It's a bit late for that, I confessed. Hey, I wrote to all of them to inform them that I no longer worked there. Barbara smiled. That's not a problem. You just reported a fact. As long as you didn't speak badly about the company or incite clients to cancel their contracts, you're within your rights. That night, I slept more peacefully. I had a good case, and I was sure I could recover my money and possibly get additional compensation. What I didn't expect was for things to accelerate so quickly. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. It was my ex-colleagues. They were all telling me the same thing. The office was total chaos. Several important clients had canceled their contracts, and Tiffany was fuming, yelling at everyone. This is a disaster, Miguel, one of the junior salespeople I had trained told me. Tiffany is forcing all of us to call the clients who left, but no one wants to talk to us. They only ask about you. I'm sorry, guys, I responded sincerely. It wasn't my intention to cause problems for you. Are you kidding? Said Miguel with a little laugh. This is the best thing that's happened in weeks. We all hate Tiffany. She's a nightmare. Carlos already quit this morning, and I'm considering doing the same. I didn't know what to say. On one hand, I was glad to see that Tiffany was getting what she deserved, but on the other, I didn't want my colleagues to lose their jobs because of me. Hey, don't quit yet, I advised them. Wait to see what happens when the boss returns. Do you think he'll fire her? Miguel asked with hope in his voice. I don't know, I responded, honestly. But I don't think he'll like finding out that she fired the employee who generates 80% of the revenue. That afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. Normally, I don't answer numbers I don't recognize, but something told me I should respond. Hello, Jack. It was the boss's voice. He sounded tired and worried. It's Robert. I need to talk to you. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't expecting news from the boss for a couple of weeks. Hello, Robert, I said, trying to sound casual. Weren't you on a trip? I had to come back early, he responded with a sigh. I've heard what happened. I'm in my office now. Could you come? We need to talk in person. My mind started spinning. Was he angry with me? Had Tiffany told him her version of the story? Was he going to threaten me with a lawsuit? I don't know, Robert, I responded cautiously. I already hired a lawyer to recover my salary. Maybe we should let our legal representatives talk first. No, Jack, please. His voice sounded sincerely distressed. I don't want this to turn into a legal battle. I just want to talk to you man to man. I promise there's no trap. I hesitated for a moment. I had always had a good relationship with Robert before Tiffany. We never had problems. He had always treated me with respect. Okay, I finally agreed. I'll be there in an hour. When I arrived at the office, I immediately noticed that something had changed. There was a tense atmosphere, and everyone was looking at me with a mixture of surprise and relief. Tiffany was nowhere to be seen. Robert's office door was open. I entered and found him sitting behind his desk looking exhausted. He had dark circles under his eyes and looked like he hadn't slept in days. Jack, thank you for coming, he said, getting up to shake my hand. Please sit down. I sat across from him, feeling strangely uncomfortable in a place where I had been hundreds of times before. Robert, before anything else, I began. I want you to know that I did not incite the clients to cancel their contracts. I only informed them that I no longer worked here. Robert raised a hand to stop me. I know, Jack. I don't blame you for that. The clients are loyal to you, not to the company. I've always known that. He paused, rubbing his eyes. Look, I'm going to be direct. I made a huge mistake in leaving Tiffany in charge. I thought it would be a good opportunity for her to learn about the business, but clearly she wasn't ready for that responsibility. I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic snort. Robert looked at me with a sad smile. Yes, I know it was stupid of me, but Jack, I want to fix this. I want you back. What happened to Tiffany? I asked, avoiding responding directly to his offer. We broke up, he responded straightforwardly. When I found out what she had done, I came back immediately. Yesterday, we had a very long and very unpleasant conversation. This morning, she collected her things and left. She no longer works here. She's no longer in my life. I remained silent, processing the information. Part of me felt vindicated, but another part felt sorry for Robert. He looked really devastated. I'm sorry, I finally said. Don't be, he responded firmly. It was my mistake. I should have seen the signs before, but now I need your help, Jack. The company is in trouble. Clients are leaving and the staff is demoralized. I need you back. I don't know, Robert. I hesitated. What guarantee do I have that something like this won't happen again? They didn't even pay me my last salary. You're right, he nodded. And that's why I want to offer you something more than your old position. Robert opened a drawer and took out a thick envelope. He slid it across the desk toward me. Here's your month's salary plus a bonus for the inconveniences. And there's something else. I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $150,000 and a legal document. I took it out and began to read it. A partnership contract? I asked, surprised. Yes. I want to offer you 30% of the company. Jack, you've earned it. You're the reason this company is still standing. You always have been. My mouth opened in surprise. I had never expected something like this. One thing was for him to ask me to come back, but to offer me a partnership? This is unexpected, I said, skimming through the contract. Look, I know you probably have better offers waiting for you. You're the best salesman I've ever known. Any company would hire you in a second, but I sincerely believe we can do great things together as partners. I didn't know what to say. Robert was right that I already had other offers. Several headhunters had contacted me as soon as they knew I was available, but none offered a partnership, just higher salaries. I need time to think about it, I finally responded. Of course, Robert nodded. Take all the time you need, but there's something else you should know. What's that? I heard that Tiffany is trying to spread negative rumors about you in the industry. She's saying that you stole company data and that you incited clients to cancel their contracts. I let out a curse. I should have imagined she would try something like that. If you accept my offer, continued Robert, I'll make a public announcement clarifying the whole situation. I'll explain that you were unjustly fired during my absence and that now you're my partner. That should silence any rumor she tries to spread. It was a good offer. I had to admit it. Not only would I recover my position and get part of the company, but my reputation would also remain intact. Let me think about it, I said, putting the contract back in the envelope. I'll give you my answer tomorrow. That night, I couldn't sleep, thinking about Robert's offer. On one hand, I felt flattered, and the offer was generous. On the other hand, I couldn't easily forget what had happened. What if Robert made the same mistake with another girlfriend in the future? The next morning, I decided to call Miguel to find out how things were at the office. Boss, you won't believe what's happening, said Miguel. As soon as he answered the phone, Robert is changing everything. He fired all the friends that Tiffany had brought into the company. He reorganized the departments and even publicly apologized to all the staff for what happened. Really? I was surprised. Yes, he even rehired Carlos and keeps asking about you. It seems like he's desperate for you to come back. After talking with Miguel, I decided I should meet with Robert again. This time, I invited him to a neutral cafe outside the office. When I arrived, Robert was already there, drinking an espresso and reviewing documents on his tablet. He looked less tired than the day before, but still had that air of concern. Jack, thank you for coming, he said, putting aside his documents. Have you thought about my offer? Yes, and I have some conditions, I responded directly. Robert smiled. I imagined you would. Go ahead. I'm listening. First, I want 40%, not 30%, I said, preparing to negotiate. To my surprise, Robert nodded without hesitation. Done. Second, I want to have the final word on all decisions related to sales and clients. Seems fair to me, he responded. You're better at that than I am. Third, I want to bring my own team of salespeople, Miguel, Carlos, and some others I trust. No problem, said Robert. I already rehired Carlos and gave him a raise. I was surprised by how easy everything was being. I expected more resistance. Why are you agreeing to everything so easily? I asked with suspicion. Robert sighed and put his coffee cup on the table. Because I almost lost my company, Jack. When I found out what had happened, I checked the accounts. In just 3 days, we had lost 60% of our clients. If that continued, in 2 weeks, we would be bankrupt. He paused and looked me directly in the eyes. You saved my company once when it was just starting, and now I need you to save it again. I'm willing to pay whatever price is necessary. His honesty moved me. I could see that he was really sorry for what had happened. Okay, I finally said, I accept, but there's one more condition. Whatever it is, he responded quickly. Never again let your personal relationships interfere with the business. The next time you have a girlfriend, keep her away from the office. Robert let out a bitter laugh. Believe me, I've learned my lesson. In fact, I think I'm going to be single for a good while. We shook hands to close the deal and agreed to meet with the lawyers that same afternoon to sign the papers. When I returned to the office the next day, now as a partner, everyone welcomed me with applause and cheers. Miguel had organized a small celebration with cake and refreshments. The king has returned, he joked, handing me a paper crown they had made with gold cardboard. I laughed and put it on, feeling a bit silly but happy to be back. Robert made an official announcement, presenting me as his new partner and explaining that all important decisions would now be made together. He also clarified that it had been a mistake to let me go, and that he hoped everyone would welcome me back. The following weeks were intense. I had to work day and night to recover the clients we had lost. Fortunately, most were willing to come back when they found out that I had returned and was now a partner in the company. A month later, we were almost back to normal. In fact, we had acquired some new clients thanks to the improvements that Robert and I implemented in the company structure. It was then that a message arrived from an unknown number. It was Tiffany. Do you think you've won? This isn't over, Jack. You ruined my life and I'm going to make you pay for it. I showed the message to Robert, who frowned with concern. Should we be worried? I asked. Robert shook his head. I don't think so. She's angry, but she can't do anything. Besides, I've heard she's already dating someone else. The poor devil doesn't even know what's in store for him. I burst out laughing at his comment. It was good to see that Robert could joke about Tiffany. It meant he had really moved on. By the way, he said, changing the subject, did you see this month's figures? We've recovered almost all the clients and we're about to sign that contract with Global Tech. If we get it, it will be our biggest client so far. We'll get it, I responded with confidence. I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I'm preparing a presentation they won't be able to refuse. Robert smiled, visibly relaxed. I knew I could count on you, partner. It was strange to hear that word addressed to me, but I liked how it sounded. Partner. I was no longer just a salesman, an employee. Now I was an owner of part of the business with a voice and vote in all important decisions. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if Tiffany hadn't fired me that day. I would probably still be just a salesman, earning a good salary, but without real participation in the company. In a way, her act of arrogance and stupidity had catapulted me to a much better position. Life has curious ways of working. Sometimes what seems like a disaster turns out to be the beginning of something much better. And sometimes the people who try to sink you end up being the ones who unwittingly lift you higher. As for Tiffany, we never saw her again. I heard rumors that she had tried to get jobs at several competing companies, but no one wanted to hire her after finding out what she had done. Robert had been discreet about their breakup in public, but in the inner circle of the industry, everyone knew the truth. In the end, the only legacy Tiffany left was strengthening our company. Thanks to her attempt to destroy me, I was now a partner, and the company was stronger than ever. As the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. And in my case, that cloud had a name, Tiffany Fox, the woman who, without knowing it, did me the biggest favor of my life. Tiffany thought she ruined me, but her arrogance crowned me partner. That's the end of my story. Now I want to ask you, in the end, am I the asshole? Or not?